The massive alien ship hung in space like a dark metal city. Its hull stretched for miles, covered in strange symbols that glowed with blue light. Inside the ship's main meeting room, creatures from across the galaxy waited for their first reel. Look at a human being. Ambassador Zektar stood at the head of the long metal table. His reptilian skin was dark green and covered in natural armor plates. His yellow eyes watched the viewing screen that showed empty space outside. Soon, the human ship would arrive. "They are late," growled Commander Vorth from his seat. The massive Saurian warrior was twice the size of Zektar, with battle scars covering his thick hide. His claws tapped against the table surface, making small scratches in the metal. Typical behavior from a weak species. Dr. Nexra, the expedition's chief scientist, looked up from her crystal tablet. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors with her thoughts. Right now she glowed a soft purple, which meant she was curious. "The humans are only 3 minutes behind schedule. That is well within acceptable limits." "Any delay shows weakness," Vorth said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "We have watched their planet for months. They fight among themselves constantly. They have no natural weapons. Their skin tears like paper. How can such soft creatures survive in our galaxy?" Zektar raised a clawed hand for silence. "We are here to evaluate them fairly. The Galactic Council sent us to determine if humans deserve membership. We must follow proper protocol." A soft chime filled the room. The viewing screen switched to show a small human ship approaching. It looked tiny next to the alien vessel, no bigger than a shuttle. Its white hull gleamed under the light of nearby stars. "Look at that pathetic craft," Vorth laughed. "One of our fighters could destroy it with a single shot, and they send only one ship to meet us? They show no respect." The human shuttle docked with the alien ship. Airlocks connected with mechanical sounds. Then they waited. The aliens expected a large delegation, maybe soldiers or politicians. Instead, the door opened and one person stepped through. Dr. Lisa Grant was 28 years old and stood barely 5 feet tall. Her brown hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore a plain blue uniform with small badges on the chest. She carried a single bag and looked around the room with wide eyes. The aliens stared at her in silence. She seemed so small and fragile compared to them. Her skin was pale and soft, without any natural protection. She had no claws, no fangs, no armor. When she smiled nervously, they could see her teeth were flat and meant for eating plants, not tearing meat. "Hello," Lisa said in a quiet voice. "I am Dr. Lisa Grant, representing Earth and humanity. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us." Zektar stood up from his chair. Even though he tried to be polite, his size made him look threatening. "Welcome aboard the Void Dancer, Dr. Grant. I am Ambassador Zektar of the Saurian Empire. We are honored to meet the first human representative." Lisa bowed slightly, which made her look even smaller. "The honor is mine, Ambassador. I know this. Meeting is very important for my people." Commander Vorth stood up too, his massive frame casting a shadow over Lisa. "So this is what humans look like? I expected something more impressive. You barely come up to my chest." "I am on the shorter side for humans," Lisa admitted with a nervous laugh, "but I hope my size won't be a problem for our discussions." "Your size tells us everything we need to know," Vorth said. His voice was cold and dismissive. "How can creatures like you survive in space? The galaxy is full of dangers that would kill you in seconds." Dr. Nexra's crystal body shifted to yellow, showing her interest. "Please, Dr. Grant, tell us about your journey here. Was it difficult for your people to build ships capable of interstellar travel?" Lisa's face brightened as she talked about something she knew well. "Actually, humans have been dreaming of space travel for centuries. We started with simple rockets and kept improving. The ship that brought me here uses technology we developed over the last 50 years. 50 years? Vorth scoffed. "We have been traveling between stars for thousands of years. You are infants playing with toys." "Perhaps," Lisa said quietly, "but we are eager to learn from more advanced species like yourselves." The aliens spent the next hour asking Lisa basic questions about human culture, technology, and history. She answered each question honestly, even when the answers made humans sound primitive compared to the aliens. She talked about Earth's wars, diseases, and natural disasters. She explained how humans had no natural defenses against most threats. With each answer, the aliens became more convinced that humans were too weak for the galaxy. They saw Lisa's small size, her soft voice, and her polite manner as proof that her entire species was fragile and helpless. "Let me understand this correctly," Vorth said, leaning forward in his chair. "Your people die from simple diseases? Your bodies cannot handle changes in temperature? You need machines to breathe in space?" "That is correct," Lisa nodded. "Humans are not naturally suited for space travel. We had to invent ways to protect ourselves. And yet you want to join the Galactic Council?" Vorth's laugh was harsh and cruel. "The Council is for strong species, not weaklings who need machines to survive." Something changed in Lisa's expression. The nervous smile faded from her face. Her hands, which had been shaking slightly, became still. "Commander Vorth, may I ask about your own people's military history?" "The Saurians are the greatest warriors in the galaxy," Vorth said proudly. "We have conquered dozens of worlds. Our soldiers are feared throughout known space." "I see," Lisa said. Her voice was still quiet, but something in her tone made the room feel colder. "And how many of your wars have you won against overwhelming odds? How often have your people fought when defeat seemed certain?" Vorth frowned. "We fight to win. Only fools fight battles they cannot win." "Ah," Lisa said, and for the first time since entering the room she smiled. But this smile was different from her earlier nervous expression. This smile was sharp and cold. "Then you have never met humans in battle." The aliens looked at each other with confusion. Dr. Nexra's crystal body flickered between colors as she tried to understand what had just changed. Ambassador Zektar felt a strange chill run down his spine, though he could not explain why. Lisa opened her bag and pulled out a small device. "Commander Vorth, you have been very clear about your opinion of my people. You believe we are weak and fragile. You think we have no place in your galaxy." "That is correct," Vorth said, though he sounded less confident than before. "Then perhaps," Lisa said, her voice growing harder with each word, "it is time you learned what humans are really like when someone makes the mistake of underestimating us." The room fell silent. None of the aliens understood what had just happened, but they all felt that something fundamental had changed. The small, fragile human woman who had seemed so harmless was still standing in the same place, but somehow she felt completely different. Lisa's next words would be remembered by every alien in that room for the rest of their lives. "You think I seem fragile, Commander. Most people do, right up until they throw the first punch." The silence in the meeting room stretched on for long seconds. Commander Vorth stared at the small human woman who had just challenged him. Her words hung in the air like a threat he did not understand. "Are you threatening me, human?" Vorth asked. His voice was dangerous and low. His claws extended from his fingers, scraping against the metal table. Lisa looked at him with calm eyes. "No, Commander. I am educating you. There is a difference." She walked to the wall screen and connected her device. "You asked about human military history. You want to know why we think we deserve a place in your galaxy? Let me show you something." The screen lit up with images from Earth. The aliens saw cities burning, soldiers fighting in terrible conditions, and battles that seemed impossible to survive. But these were not the clean, organized wars the aliens knew. These were desperate struggles where humans fought with everything they had. "This is the Battle of Stalingrad," Lisa said, pointing to images of soldiers fighting in a frozen, destroyed city. Human soldiers held this city for months against an enemy that outnumbered them. They fought in buildings reduced to rubble. They ate rats to survive. When they ran out of bullets, they fought with knives. When the knives broke, they used rocks and bare hands. Dr. Nexra's crystal body shifted to a worried orange color. The conditions look impossible to survive. How did they continue fighting? "Because giving up was not an option," Lisa said simply. "The enemy wanted to destroy everything these soldiers cared about. So they fought until they won or died. Most chose to die rather than surrender. She switched to another image. This one showed soldiers crossing a dark ocean in small boats during a storm. This is D-Day. Humans loaded themselves into boats and sailed across dangerous water to attack beaches, covered with weapons designed to kill them. They knew many would die. They went anyway. Commander Vorth scoffed, but his voice sounded less certain than before. Any species can fight when they have no choice. That proves nothing. Does it? Lisa asked. She brought up new images. These showed humans in spacesuits working on damaged equipment while floating in the black void. This is the Apollo 13 mission. 3 humans were trapped in a damaged spacecraft, millions of miles from Earth. Their ship was breaking apart. They had limited air, water, and power. The aliens leaned forward to look at the images. They could see the fear on the human faces, but also something else: determination. What did they do? Dr. Nexra asked. They fixed it, Lisa said. With spare parts and duct tape, they built new air filters. They calculated flight paths by hand when their computers failed. They worked for days without sleep while their ship grew colder and their air grew thinner, and they made it home. She switched to medical data that made the aliens gasp. The charts showed human pain tolerance, healing rates, and survival statistics under extreme conditions. Humans can function with injuries that would kill most species, Lisa explained. We have soldiers who continued fighting after losing limbs. We have people who survived in conditions that should have been fatal. We adapt to environments that other species cannot even visit. Ambassador Zektar studied the data with growing concern. These numbers cannot be accurate. No species can endure such trauma and continue functioning. The data comes from your own observations of Earth, Lisa said calmly. Your ships have been watching us for months. You have seen our hospitals, our disaster zones, our battlefields. You know these numbers are real. A new voice spoke from the room's entrance. She is telling the truth. Everyone turned to see a human man walking into the room. He was tall and lean, with short gray hair and steady eyes. His uniform was different from Lisa's, with more badges and symbols. But what caught the alien's attention were the scars. His face and hands showed marks from old injuries, and he moved with the careful balance of someone who had been hurt many times. This is Captain Roy Bennett, Lisa said. He flew me here from Earth. Roy is a former Marine. What is a Marine? Dr. Nexera asked. Roy's smile was cold and sharp. Marines are humans who specialize in fighting in places where fighting should be impossible. We are the ones they send when the situation is hopeless, and someone needs to do it anyway, Commander. Vorth stood up to his full height, trying to intimidate the newcomer. Another small, soft human. Do you think you impress me with your scars, old man? Roy looked up at the massive alien warrior without flinching. Commander, I have fought in jungles where the plants tried to kill me, in deserts where the heat melted metal, and in cities where every building could explode. I have been shot, stabbed, blown up, and left for dead, and I am still here. Luck, Vorth growled. No, Roy said quietly. Training, discipline, and the knowledge that giving up is not an option. Lisa brought up more data on the screen. This time it showed psychological profiles and stress tests. Humans have something most species lack. We call it stubbornness, but scientists have other names for it. When faced with impossible situations, instead of breaking down, we become more focused. Our performance actually improves under extreme pressure. The aliens stared at charts showing human brain activity during crisis situations. The patterns were unlike anything they had seen before. This makes no sense, Dr. Nexra said, her crystal body flickering through multiple colors. Most species become less effective when stressed. You are saying humans become more dangerous? Much more dangerous, Roy said. The worse things get, the harder we fight. It is not logical, but it is how we are built. Commander Vorth slammed his fist on the table, leaving deep claw marks in the metal. Enough of this nonsense. You show me pictures and numbers, but I see only weakness. Your bodies are soft. Your lives are short. You have no natural weapons. Lisa and Roy exchanged a look. Roy nodded slightly. You want a demonstration? Lisa asked. Yes, Vorth snarled. Show me this human strength you claim to possess. Roy stepped forward. What kind of demonstration did you have in mind, Commander? Physical tests, endurance trials, pain tolerance. Let us see how long your human stubbornness lasts when faced with real challenges. The other aliens looked uncomfortable. Ambassador Zektar tried to intervene. Perhaps we should continue with peaceful discussions. No, Roy said firmly. The commander wants to see what humans can do. I think that is a fine idea. Dr. Nexra's crystal body turned bright red, which meant she was alarmed. Captain Bennett, our testing procedures are designed for much larger, stronger species. They could seriously injure you. Roy's smile never changed. Doctor, I appreciate your concern. But you are about to learn something important about humans. We do not break easily. And the harder you try to break us, the more dangerous we become. Lisa moved to stand beside Roy. Commander Vorth, you have spent this entire meeting telling us that humans are too weak for your galaxy. You have insulted our species, our achievements, and our right to exist among the stars. Her voice grew colder with each word. You want to test us? Fine. But remember something important. You are not testing our limits. You are teaching us yours. Commander Vorth felt a chill run through his massive body, though he could not understand why. These two humans looked so small and harmless, but something in their eyes made him think of predators he had faced in his youth, creatures that looked weak until they struck. Very well, he said, trying to sound confident. We will begin the tests immediately. Do not blame me when you fail. Roy and Lisa smiled at the same time. It was not a pleasant sight. Commander, Roy said quietly, we will not be the ones failing today. The aliens led Roy and Lisa to the ship's testing center. The room was huge, with walls made of dark metal and floors covered in strange patterns. Machines lined the walls, designed to test the limits of alien warriors from across the galaxy. Dr. Nexra checked her equipment while Commander Vorth examined the testing devices with satisfaction. These machines have tested thousands of species, he said. Most cannot complete even half the trials. Roy walked around the room, studying each machine with the eye of an experienced soldier. What exactly do these tests measure? Physical strength, endurance, pain tolerance, and mental stability under stress, Dr. Nexra explained. Her crystal body was still glowing red with concern. Captain Bennett, I must warn you again. These tests are dangerous even for our strongest warriors. I understand, Roy said calmly. Let's begin. The first test was simple physical strength. The machine looked like a large metal bar connected to sensors. Roy gripped it and pulled as hard as he could. The readings showed his strength was average compared to most alien species, but not impressive. Commander Vorth laughed. As expected, weak and pathetic. We are just getting started, Lisa said from where she watched with Ambassador Zektar. The second test measured running speed and endurance. Roy ran on a moving platform that got faster and steeper as time passed. Most aliens could run very fast for short distances, but tired quickly. Roy's pace was steady but not spectacular. However, as the test continued, something interesting happened. While his speed stayed the same, his breathing remained controlled. Minutes passed, then an hour. Dr. Nexra watched her instruments with growing amazement. His heart rate is elevated but stable. Most species would have collapsed by now. Humans are built for endurance, Lisa explained. We evolved to chase prey across long distances. We may not be the fastest, but we do not stop. After 2 hours, the machine finally broke down from overuse. Roy stepped off, sweating but still breathing normally. Impossible, Vorth muttered. The third test was pain tolerance. The machine sent controlled electrical shocks through the subject's body, starting small and growing stronger. Most species quit when the pain became unbearable. Roy sat in the chair and nodded to Dr. Nexra. The first shock made his muscles tense, but his expression did not change. The second was stronger. Roy gripped the chair arms but said nothing. The Shocks kept getting stronger. Dr. Nexra watched her readings with disbelief. "Captain, your pain receptors are definitely functioning. These levels should be excruciating." "They are," Roy said through gritted teeth. "But pain is just information. It tells you something is wrong, but it does not make decisions for you." The ITT test continued far beyond the point where most aliens would have quit. Roy's face was covered with sweat and his hands shook, but he never asked to stop. Finally, Dr. Nexra ended the test herself, worried about permanent damage. "That was 3 times longer than our best Saurian warrior," she whispered. "Commander." Vorth's confidence was starting to crack. "The mental tests will break him. No species can handle what comes next." The 4th test was psychological torture. Roy was placed in a small, dark chamber filled with sounds designed to drive most beings insane. Alien screams, grinding metal, and frequencies that caused fear in primitive brains echoed around him. Through speakers, the aliens could hear Roy's steady breathing. Minutes passed, then hours. Most species begged to be released within the first hour. Roy sat quietly in the darkness. "What is he doing in there?" Ambassador Zektar asked. Lisa smiled grimly, probably thinking about his family or planning what to have for dinner. Marines are trained to control their minds even in the worst situations. After 4 hours, they opened the chamber. Roy walked out looking tired, but completely sane. "Is that all?" he asked. Dr. Nexra's crystal body was cycling through every color she knew. "This is impossible. No single being has ever passed all our tests." "You wanted to see human capabilities," Lisa said. "This is what we are like when we are not even angry yet." But their demonstration was interrupted by warning alarms throughout the ship. Red lights flashed and alien voices shouted over the communication system. "What is happening?" Lisa asked. Ambassador Zektar was reading reports on his device. His face showed fear. "Energy storm approaching, very large. Our shields cannot protect us and our engines are not powerful enough to escape." The ship shook violently as the first waves of the storm hit. The lights flickered and the artificial gravity wavered. Through the viewing windows they could see space itself twisting and crackling with dangerous energy. "How long until it hits us fully?" Roy asked. 20 minutes, Zektar replied. "Maybe less." The alien stood frozen, unsure what to do. Their emergency protocols had no solutions for this situation. Their technology was advanced, but it was designed for known problems. This storm was beyond anything they had prepared for. Roy and Lisa looked at each other and nodded. Without being asked, they moved into action. "Lisa, can you check the power systems?" Roy asked, already heading for the door. "On it," she replied, pulling out her own equipment. "Wait," Commander Vorth called. "Where are you going?" "This is not your ship." Roy turned back. "People are in danger. That is all that matters." The humans split up and began working on different parts of the ship. Lisa found her way to the engine room, where alien engineers stood around looking helpless. The energy storm was overloading their systems faster than they could compensate. "What is the main problem?" she asked the chief engineer. "The power conduits cannot handle the energy fluctuations," the alien replied. "They keep burning out faster than we can replace them." Lisa studied the alien technology for a few minutes, then began pulling parts from her own equipment. "We need to create a buffer system, something that can absorb the excess energy without burning out." "Impossible," the engineer said. "We do not have the right components." "Then we make them," Lisa said, and began tearing apart nearby machines to get the parts she needed. Meanwhile, Roy had found his way to the damaged sections of the ship where several alien crew members were trapped behind collapsed bulkheads. The other aliens were afraid to enter the area because the energy storm was making the metal walls electrically charged. Roy put on insulated gloves and began cutting through the debris with tools he found nearby. Each touch sent painful shocks through his body, but he kept working. One by one, he pulled the trapped aliens to safety. "You are risking your life for beings you barely know," one of the rescued aliens said. "That is what humans do," Roy replied, and went back for the next victim. All through the ship, the aliens watched in amazement as these two humans worked with calm efficiency while everyone else panicked. Lisa solved engineering problems that the alien experts said were impossible. Roy performed rescues in conditions that should have killed him. The storm raged for 6 hours. By the time it passed, Lisa had rebuilt half the ship's power systems using spare parts and creative thinking. Roy had saved 17 alien lives and helped repair critical systems in areas too dangerous for the alien crew. When it was over, the humans sat down for the first time since the crisis began. They were exhausted, injured, and covered in burns and cuts. But they were alive, and so was everyone else on the ship. Dr. Nexra approached them with her medical scanner. "You both need treatment immediately. Some of these injuries are severe." "We will be fine," Lisa said, though she was clearly in pain. Commander Vorth stood looking at the two humans. His entire worldview had been shattered in the space of a few hours. "I do not understand," he said quietly. "You risked everything for people who had insulted you. Why?" Roy looked up at the massive alien warrior. "Because that is who we are. Humans do not leave people behind, even people who do not like us." The room fell silent except for the hum of repaired machinery. Every alien present understood that they had witnessed something extraordinary. These fragile-looking humans had not just survived their tests, they had exceeded them. And when real danger came, they had saved everyone without being asked. Ambassador Zektar stepped forward. "Dr. Grant, Captain Bennett, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I owe you an apology. We were wrong about your species." Lisa smiled tiredly. "We told you we were stronger than we looked." The medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of alien healing machines. Lisa sat on an examination table while Dr. Nexra treated the burns on her arms. Roy was in the next bed, his cuts being sealed with strange blue light. "These injuries should have put you both in shock," Dr. Nexra said, her crystal body glowing a worried orange. "Yet you continued working for hours. I have never seen anything like it." "Adrenaline is a powerful thing," Lisa explained. "When people are in danger, humans can push through almost anything." Ambassador Zekatar entered the medical bay with several other council members. They had been discussing the events of the past day in emergency session. "Dr. Grant, Captain Bennett, we need to talk." Roy sat up on his bed, wincing slightly from his injuries. "About what, Ambassador?" "About humanity's application to join the Galactic Council," Zektar said. "The Council has reviewed everything that happened. Your actions during the crisis have changed many minds." Commander Vorth walked in behind them. The massive Saurian warrior looked different somehow. The arrogance was gone from his posture, replaced by something that might have been respect. "I owe you both an apology," Vorth said, his voice much quieter than usual. "I was wrong about humans, wrong about everything." Lisa shook her head. "Commander, you were not entirely wrong. Humans are physically weaker than most species. We do die easily from things that would not hurt you. We are not naturally suited for space." "Then why did you save us?" Vorth asked. "Why risk your lives for people who treated you badly?" Roy and Lisa looked at each other. "Because that is what humans do," Roy said simply. "We help people who need help. It does not matter if they like us or not." Dr. Nexra put down her medical tools. "I have been studying your species since you arrived. Your biology is fascinating. When most beings face extreme stress, their bodies shut down to preserve energy. But humans become more active, more focused, more capable. It is the opposite of what should happen." "Evolution made us that way," Lisa explained. "For thousands of years, humans survived by refusing to give up. The ones who quit died out. The ones who kept fighting lived to have children." Ambassador Zektar sat down across from them. "The Council is prepared to offer humanity full membership immediately. Your actions have proven that humans belong among the stars." "But first," Commander Vorth interrupted, "I have a request." Everyone looked at him with surprise. "What kind of request?" Roy asked. Vorth's claws scraped nervously against the floor. "I challenged your species. I said you were weak and did not deserve respect. You proved me wrong, but I still feel that I need to settle this properly. What are you suggesting? Lisa asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. Single combat, Forth said. You and me, Captain Bennett. A fair fight to restore my honor. Roy sighed. Commander, you are twice my size and covered in natural armor. How is that fair? Because you are human, Forth said, and I am beginning. To understand what that means, Dr. Nexra's crystal body flashed bright red with alarm. This is a terrible idea. Captain Bennett is injured and exhausted. Commander Vorth could kill him accidentally. He could try, Roy said quietly, then looked at Lisa. What do you think? Lisa studied Commander Vorth carefully. She could see that this was important to him. In his culture, honor mattered more than logic. If this is what it takes to earn true respect, then we should do it. The rules are simple, Vorth explained. First one to surrender or fall unconscious loses. No weapons, no outside help. They moved to the ship's combat training room. Word spread quickly through the ship, and soon aliens from dozens of species gathered to watch. None of them had ever seen a human fight before. Roy stood in the center of the circular arena, looking very small compared to his opponent. Commander Vorth was nearly 8 feet tall and covered in thick, armored skin. His claws were like knives and his muscles bulged with power. Last chance to surrender, human, Vorth said, though his voice held no mockery now. Not going to happen, Roy replied. The fight began with Vorth charging forward like a living tank. His first punch would have shattered the bones of most species. Roy barely dodged it, the massive fist whistling past his head. Roy tried to strike back, but his punches seemed to have no effect on Vorth's armored hide. The alien warrior grabbed him and threw him across the arena. Roy hit the wall hard and slid to the ground. The watching aliens murmured among themselves. This looked like it would be a very short fight. But Roy got back up. Blood ran from his nose, but his eyes were still focused. He circled Vorth more carefully this time, looking for weaknesses. Vorth attacked again, this time with his claws extended. Roy dodged and weaved, letting the bigger fighter tire himself out with wild swings. Each time Vorth connected, Roy took terrible damage, but each time he got back up. Stay down, Vorth growled after knocking Roy to the ground for the 5th time. You cannot win this fight. Roy wiped blood from his mouth and smiled. Maybe not, but I can make sure you remember it. The fight continued for 20 minutes. Roy absorbed punishment that should have killed him. His ribs were cracked, his face was swollen, and he could barely see through his injured eyes. But he never stopped moving, never stopped fighting back. Slowly, something began to change. Vorth was getting tired. His heavy armor and massive muscles required a lot of energy. Roy's constant movement and refusal to stay down was wearing the alien warrior out. Roy began to land more hits. They still did not seem to hurt Vorth much, but they were adding up. More importantly, Roy was learning. Each exchange taught him more about his opponent's fighting style. Vorth threw another massive punch. This time, Roy was ready. He stepped inside the swing and struck Vorth in the throat, one of the few unarmored spots on the alien's body. Vorth staggered backward, gasping for air. For the first time in the fight, he looked hurt. The crowd of watching aliens grew quiet. They had expected the human to fall quickly. Instead, they were seeing something impossible. The small injured human was actually winning, but Roy was not trying to win. As Vorth struggled to breathe, Roy could have pressed his advantage. Instead, he stepped back and waited for his opponent to recover. Why? Vorth gasped. Why did you not finish me? Because this is not about winning, Roy said. It is about proving that humans can take whatever you give us and keep standing. Vorth looked at the battered human with new understanding. Roy could barely stand. His body was covered in injuries that would have killed most species. But his eyes still held determination. I yield, Vorth said quietly. The arena erupted in shocked voices. No one had expected the fight to end this way. Roy walked over to Vorth and offered his hand. Good fight, Commander. Vorth looked at the offered hand, then clasped it carefully, with his massive claws. I understand now, he said. You are not fragile because you choose kindness over cruelty. You are strong enough to be gentle. Ambassador Zektar stepped into the arena. The Galactic Council formally accepts humanity as a full member species. Welcome to the galaxy, humans. Lisa joined Roy in the center of the arena. Despite his injuries, he was smiling. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I just proved a point," Roy said. "We may look fragile, but we do not break easily." Dr. Nexra approached with her medical equipment. "Captain Bennett, you need immediate treatment. Some of these injuries are severe." "In a minute," Roy said. He looked around at all, the alien faces watching him. "I want everyone here to remember something. Humans do not pick fights, we do not start wars. We prefer to solve problems with words instead of violence." His voice grew stronger as he continued. "But if you threaten what we care about, if you hurt innocent people, if you mistake our kindness for weakness, then you will learn what we are really like. We are the species that refuses to surrender. We are the ones who get stronger when things get worse." Commander Vorth stepped forward. "And we are honored to call you allies." The crowd of aliens began to cheer. It started slowly, then grew louder as more voices joined in. They were not just cheering for Roy's victory. They were cheering for humanity itself. Lisa put her arm around Roy's shoulders to help support him. "Think they understand now?" Roy looked at the cheering crowd, then at Commander Vorth's respectful expression, then at Ambassador Zektar's grateful smile. "Yeah," he said, "I think they finally get it. We seemed fragile right up until they threw the first punch. Now they know better." As the cheers continued, word began to spread throughout the galaxy. Humanity had arrived among the stars, and they were nothing like what anyone had expected. They were stronger than they looked, kinder than they had to be, and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would never be the same.